Tomorrow, the world's greatest soccer player, the Brazilian known simply as Pele, plays his last professional game. His skills have helped make soccer a major sport in the United States. Good evening. Tonight, on the eve of Pele's last game, we look at the extraordinary growth of soccer in the United States. Although the game has been played here since the Revolution, Americans never fell in love with the sport the way most other countries have. It was confined to a small enclave of high schools and colleges, mostly in the Northeast. Now, with a roster of top foreign stars and an impressive growth of homegrown talent, soccer has come of age. Tonight we look at the magic that is making thousands of American kids dream of playing soccer like Pele. And hopefully learning how to fall. Jim?
Robin, one only has to be a parent of school-age children or know somebody who is to realize the popularity of soccer is spreading below and beyond the professional ranks. And there are a couple of concrete figures to back that up. 5 years ago, there were 15,000 American young people aged 19 and below playing amateur soccer. This season, there are 280,000. That's in an organized way under the U.S. Soccer Federation. The second telltale statistic has to do with the number of soccer balls sold. 443,000 was the figure in 1974. 1,280,000 is the tally for just the first 6 months of this year. There is no question that the Pros Championship playoffs has done a lot to spur this interest even further.
Midfield, and England comes right with him. That's quite a duel. Look out. Here's a run. Hunt with Machen. Hunt can't beat Tony Cherski.
Very quickly off his line, Cherski, and of course he had to be. Everybody knows by now that Hunt has terrific speed.
Look out! A shot! Goal! Goal! Is it? It is! A goal! A goal for the Cosmos! And Stevie Hunt has done it!
Well, do you think he's happy, John?
He knocked it out of his hand. Here's a look.
There was coming into it a bit late there, but the ball, apparently the referee judged that was a free ball. Hunt was allowed to play it.
Now watch the dazzling passing. Tommy Orr with the ball. Inside, back it goes to Orr. Shot, goal for Seattle. High score. So again, we almost saw Pele scoring a free kick earlier. Here we are again.
This one is directly in front of the goal. These are very dangerous situations.
A lot of things he can do. The wall is supposed to be 10 yards, and they're about 7 right now.
It's a conservative 10, just inched up to a conservative 9. Pele and Beckenbauer sort of hovering over the ball. It's going to be Beckenbauer. It's going to be Pele.
Pele shot right on.
My word, there was a wicked curve on that ball, John. That ball, Pele hit that with terrific spin. It sort of dipped and sunk straight into Cherski's arms. Good positioning by Cherski, but a lovely kick by Pele. And another corner kick again. The Cosmos are under a lot of pressure right now.
Robertson, high ball. Here's Ord in front for Scott. The header. Save, rebound. He covers up again. Holy cow. Into Stevie Hunt. Hunt with Machen. He's got to beat him to get the ball in front. Here's the opening for Quinalia. Header. He scores. Has done it again. The leading scorer in playoff history with the header. His 9th goal in 6 playoff games.
A very neat goal. It's a lovely little cross by Hunt. And it finds Quinalia. He really doesn't have to put any power on this because he's in the right position. Cherski, no chance at all for that. Lovely goal.
Well, that was it. The Cosmos won the championship 2-1. For Pele, it was his final championship season. For the United States, it was the real beginning of soccer as a major sport. Robin?
Pele, who began his professional career in 1956, gained worldwide fame with the Santos team of Brazil. In a low-scoring sport like soccer, Pele has averaged 1 goal per game in each of his 22 years of play. Pele's skill at handling the 15 ounces of leather and compressed air that's the soccer ball has impressed American youth who are developing their footwork after the master. If Pele is one of those most responsible for developing an appreciation for the skills of soccer, Phil Woosnam is most responsible for selling the game of soccer in the United States. A former English soccer star, Woosnam was named Coach of the Year in the U.S. in 1968, and since 1969, he's been running the North American Soccer League as its executive director. Mr. Woosnam, we've heard that there's been an enormous growth in amateur soccer, as Jim said earlier. Where is the professional game now compared to football? How many franchises, for instance?
Well, after high hopes in 1967-68, when we had 17 franchises, we then went down to 5 for 69, but have made a dramatic recovery. This last season we had 18 franchises operating. We have one already awarded for next season, and we're now looking into the possibility of adding more franchises, and we've set a maximum limit of 24. Not that we necessarily have to go to 24, but we are prepared to if we have the right cities and the right strength of ownership.
Is that in the United States only, or the United States and Canada?
That's in the United States and Canada.
And Canada. You personally have been selling soccer to America for about 8 years, and one tactic was bringing people like Pele in. How important was that, to bring the stars in?
Well, no sport can succeed in North America without tremendous support from the media and from Madison Avenue. And in order to earn that support, you have to have credibility. We were making progress at all levels of the sport, but of course the key move that was made in recent times was for Pele to come along. Here we had a genuine superstar recognized throughout the world, and immediately we saw that we had tremendous support from both of those areas, the media and marketing and Madison Avenue. And of course, he gave us credibility not just in this country, but throughout the world. And following his arrival, other players have come too.
You've also been deliberately, as I understand, trying to create fans for the sport, building the sport up from the bottom. How have you done that?
Well, different franchises have approached it in a different way, but what we like to do is to consider the game not just a 90-minute event. We'd like to think that the fans throughout the country will come and enjoy themselves both before and afterwards, and because we're playing in the summer, when the weather is good, of course, we find that in many places they're coming for a tailgating party before the game and staying afterwards, and therefore it becomes a 3 or 4 hour occasion for them.
And what about getting kids interested and creating fans that way?
Well, probably this is the key to why the game is growing at this time. In the last 8 years, there's been tremendous amount of effort gone into organising the sport at a youth level throughout this country, particularly in suburbia where you get good leadership and plenty of good facilities. Because of this appeal in suburbia, we find now that the youth programs have been developed throughout this country, and we're finding the benefit of this, of course, at our games. And we're finding that the youngsters, both boys and girls, incidentally, are coming along together with their parents, and that's one of the main reasons for the increase in attendance.
You've, I've read, said that soccer will be the most popular sport in this country 10 years from now. You mean more popular than football?
Well, I really believe so, because the sport has all the ingredients to be that successful. I think we just had to break down the barriers that existed when we first started in 1967. And now everyone recognizes that it just doesn't have appeal only to the male adult male audience that we had in those early days, but it now has an appeal right throughout society, and that, of course, is essential for any sport to succeed.
Well, thank you. Besides imitating Pele, kids around the world imagine themselves making the spectacular saves that are the art of the goalie. The North American Soccer League has, as part of its rules, the stipulation that at least one player be a native North American. One of the standout domestic soccer players is New York Cosmos goalie Shep Messing. Shep, how did you, an American, get good enough to play with stars like Pele on the Cosmos?
It wasn't easy, and it was a long road. I first started playing soccer just as a hobby in high school on Long Island, in one of the few areas that provided a soccer program. But for me at the time, it was just another sport and a new sport. I also played football and baseball and basketball. As the years went on and I went to college, soccer became the first sport for me, the sport that I loved the most. And at that time, when I first went to college, I dedicated myself to trying to be the best soccer player that I could. And at that time, I really never had any thoughts about a professional career. I think at that time, our professional league, the N.A.S.L, was just getting underway. So what started out as a hobby for me is now a profession, and I couldn't be happier about it.
How long would you reckon that the professional game in this country is going to be dominated by foreign stars? How long is it till most of the team members are American?
It's funny, because when I first started in this league, in the N.A.S.L, I was a big advocate, and I still am, of Americanizing the game quickly. Now I've been in the league for a few years, and I realize that we have to keep up the credibility and the level of play, and at the same time integrate more and more American players into the league. I foresee that within the next 5 years we'll be a predominantly American league, and certainly within the next 10 years we'll be all American.
What are the possibilities for an American player to make a career playing soccer now?
Well, I think it's great. I look back to the time when I first started playing professionally, and it was sort of semi-pro. In the 5 years that I've been in the league, we've reached full-time professional scale. So for a kid who's playing soccer right now, he could do whatever he wants to. If he wants to be an amateur, he can be an amateur. But he certainly can set his sights on playing professional soccer in the N.A.S.L. and playing in a first-class professional league.
Are you making money in the football or basketball or baseball player league?
Well, it's tough to say. The overall salaries of all the players have gone up dramatically in the last few years. Certainly on the Cosmos, with Pele leading the way, our salary structure might be a bit more than some of the other teams in the league. But overall, it's a professional league, and you can certainly make a living at it.
Yeah. Just tell us, what is it you like about soccer? Why is it your favorite game?
I'm crazy about it for a number of reasons. The reason I think it's such a great sport, I can break them down into two parts. First, as a spectator sport, on a professional level, it has some ingredients that we don't find in the other professional sports in this country. Soccer, some of the early critics said, well, there's not enough scoring. But that makes for a more intense, emotional game. It's a freewheeling, independent game, and the momentum builds up from one end of the field to the other end of the field. I think almost as important, it's for the kids who are playing the game, the young boys and girls. I think it's very important for youngsters, if they're going to be involved in sports, that they should be involved in a sport where they're not stereotyped or pigeonholed. I think, without criticizing football or baseball, I think a youngster will get more of an equal chance if he plays soccer. It doesn't matter how big you are or how tall you're going to grow, how much you're going to weigh. Every youngster, when he gets on a soccer field, is equal to the other players on the field. We say that each kid is really a captain in his own right, because basically the game is maybe 85 minutes of running and 5 minutes of touching the ball. And every kid who plays is going to do the same running, and every kid is going to get to touch the ball. Where in some other sports for kids, the kids sort of get stereotyped into groups, and maybe one kid will be sitting on the bench or be stuck in right field, and he won't feel equal to the other kids involved in the sport.
Well, thanks. Jim?
Right, for many people, soccer is more than a new sport. It's a new lifestyle. Mrs. Jimmie Wofford of Dallas was stumped 9 years ago when one of her sons said he wanted to join a soccer team. Mrs. Wofford found him a team. Today, 5 of her children are playing soccer. Her husband coaches a soccer team, and Mrs. Wofford herself serves as commissioner for the southern region of the United States Soccer Federation. Mrs. Wofford, how dramatic has the growth of soccer in Dallas and in that general area been in the last few years, since you've been associated with it?
Since I became involved 8.5 to 9 years ago, it has gone from less than 200 players total, children, adults, to over 55,000 this fall.
What do you attribute that to?
People. A lot of volunteers who are willing to give literally their lives up to devote hours, money, whatever is necessary in order to make the sport grow.
Now, you're one of those, obviously.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, why? I mean,
I can't answer. I really can't. I'm infected with the sport. I was infected with the sport the first time I saw it.
The very first time
you saw it? The very first time. I went to a professional game with my husband and some of our sons, and we came away, and they all said, terrible, wasn't that awful? And I thought it was a fantastic thing. I really liked it. And once you become involved in it, whether as a spectator, an administrator, whatever capacity, it seems to get in your blood and become a part of your life. It's unlike any other sport I've ever been around or ever seen. Other people are involved with youth sports. They go out to the game.
It's almost a religion.
It is. It is. Mm-hmm.
Well, what about the specific things that Mr. Messing just laid out in terms of talking about kids now playing it, you're not stereotyped, everybody gets their whack at it, everybody's equal on the soccer field? Do you agree with that?
Most definitely. Soccer's a thinking game. And if a child, an adult, is playing...
How can running, as he said, you run for 80 minutes and you touch the ball for 5, what kind of thinking is involved in it?
You must know where it's going to go next, where the play is going to go next. You've got to be able to think what's going to happen if the ball comes to me. Every kid on the field, every adult on the field in a soccer game is a quarterback, literally.
Do you think soccer's going to replace football?
I don't know that soccer will replace football. I think the two sports are highly compatible. I think that you will see an even larger growth in soccer than there has been in the past. Football has its place. Soccer has its place. Soccer is not a sport that limits according to size, weight, as football does. It will provide an outlet for a lot more of the youth of this country than football possibly can. In addition, soccer provides an outlet for the girls.
All right. One sign of soccer's growing popularity is the expansion of the game on the college level also. For example, 5 years ago, the University of Wisconsin at Milwaukee began a soccer program. Last year, for the first time, 4 graduates of a Milwaukee high school soccer program received athletic scholarships to play soccer. One man who has been watching this trend develop is Bill Bartholomew, a Milwaukee high school football coach. Coach, is football dying as a result of soccer's new popularity?
No, it's not. Soccer has developed tremendously in Milwaukee, and primarily through the Metro Milwaukee Kickers. It's a club soccer. And the growth in the last 3 years has been phenomenal. But football has been holding its own. I mentioned earlier in our discussion that football had been down in some of our inner city high schools. But
you don't attribute that to soccer?
No, I don't. Ironically enough, that those are the same schools, with the exception of one, that do not have soccer teams. We have 11 varsity soccer teams in our high school program in Milwaukee. 3 of those high schools, 3 of those inner city high schools that do not have soccer are predominantly black high schools. And the name of the game in a predominantly black school is basketball. And they've been having some problems with numbers of football players.
Well, let me ask you this. How do you, as a professional in this whole area of young people's athletics, if that's a proper phrase, how do you weigh the attractions of the two sports, soccer and football, for young people?
Okay, I disagree a little bit with Phil. I believe that soccer stereotypes a little bit too, because I have some youngsters who are very heavy and who have a very difficult time running. And there's a place for them in a football team. And there's no place for them in a soccer program. They would have a very difficult time. Yet, through continued development in our football program, in fact, I have one young man right now who, within the last 2 weeks, he's a senior, 3 years of football, and he has become a football player. And as a matter of fact, he's going to be starting this Saturday.
Well, let me ask you this, Coach. Okay. Let me turn it around. We've heard now, up to this point, the many glories of soccer. What are the glories of football compared to what we've heard about the glories of soccer?
I've been waiting for that question.
All right, there you are.
I believe that the integral basis of football, namely the contact, blocking and tackling, is the thing that appeals, is the appeal of football. I believe that there's two ingredients, as I see it, that courage and confidence that come with the blocking and tackling. In other words, in order to be able to block and tackle, you must develop a certain amount of confidence in yourself. And this confidence takes courage. And as this develops, you see this confidence developing the young man as he continues on. I believe that ingredient of confidence and courage is something that you do not find in soccer. Now, soccer has, to me, a tremendous amount of appeal to a young person. I parallel soccer with basketball because of the skills involved. And football has skills also. And I also agree that possibly a person, a youngster, 85, 90 pounds, can find a place in soccer where he wouldn't find a place in football. But I believe that both sports are compatible. I think soccer is a great sport. As a matter of fact, our football program has benefited by our soccer program. We've got a tremendous...
Got some place kickers?
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. And I'm a nut on the kicking game. And as my team will attest to. And our team members love our kicking specialist. When we practice our extra points and field goals, every time that ball goes through the uprights, there's a big roar that goes up.
But so, in short, don't shed any tears for the death of football at this stage of the game.
No, definitely not.
All right,
definitely
Robin?
Not.
Yeah, thanks. I just want to ask our soccer players here, just bounce this off them, confidence and courage, part of soccer, less than football?
Absolutely.
You played both.
An integral part of soccer. I think most people talk about the compatibility of soccer and football. I disagree. I think eventually soccer is going to be the #1 sport in the country, and I think that's a healthy...
Why?
I think it's a healthy thing, and it's the reason that I think it will be. I think it's a healthy sport for kids, and I don't think football is a healthy sport for kids. I enjoy football. I played football. I enjoy it as a spectator sport.
Just a moment. Football isn't healthy, Mr. Bartholomew?
Okay, there's been a lot of attacks on football just within the last 5 or 6 years. I believe that the health of a youngster in a football program depends to a great degree on the coach's philosophy, the coach's teaching techniques, and the overall conditioning program. Research is being done every year on conditioning to help make football a safer game. And if you look at statistics within the last few years, football is becoming a safer game. My coaching staff is very concerned about each individual boy on the field, and you will find the majority of football coaches to be that way. Unfortunately, there are some coaches who allow their egos to get the best part of them, but I am sure that there's some poor coaches in soccer also.
Yeah. Why is soccer healthier in your view?
That's a good point, and he sounds like an intelligent coach and one that I would have liked to play football for, but I think he's the exception rather than the rule among football coaches. The distinction between soccer and football for kids is there's very little that a coach can do to a soccer team. There's very little coaching involved. The kids go out and play. There are no timeouts, and I think that's a basis of involvement for kids. I think as a country, we're overcoached, and parents are over-involved in their kids' participation in sports.
We have a few seconds for one more question, and I want to ask Mr. Woosnam about this. There is a World Series of soccer, a real World Series called the World Cup. When will America be competitive to go into the World Cup?
You know, we need to have top-class professional players, and for it to be successful in the World Cup, a team needs to have an average age of 26, 27, 28.
How many years?
Some great talent is coming through at this time, and I think 4 years from now we're going to have an outstanding shot, and I think within 8 years, the next time it comes around afterwards, we're going to have a great team.
Well, we'll look forward to that. Thank you all very much in Washington. Good night, Jim, and thank you both here, gentlemen. Jim Lehrer and I'll be back on Monday evening. I'm Robert MacNeil. Good night.